The question I have that's bigger is what actual line could you tell an atheist, secular, a satanic voter that would appeal to them that's not a kitschy conservative catchphrase?
Okay, I'll tell you this.
The wokeism and all that. No, what we see is a government that is propping up Christianity, that is excusing Christianity's bad actors, that isn't doing anything to fight Christian nationalism.
So here's what I believe. There may be points in our history where that would be applicable. Respectfully, I don't think that's actually a major threat in this country compared to the threats that I named. But
Christian nationalism. But you don't feel that's
I don't feel like that's a major threat right
January
now.
January 6th.
I feel like wokeism is. But you asked me to say something that will allow to speak to people who are atheists.
Because there's an atheist watching this right now.
Yeah, let me actually just address your question. You are free to live your life and practice your faith or absence thereof freely without anybody standing in your way. Because that's what the First Amendment of the Constitution ensures. And if I have one job as your next president, it is to swear an oath to that Constitution and to keep it. And I recognize that even people of diverse faiths in this country were bound together by the ideals enshrined in that Constitution. And I will fight to the death for actually reviving those constitutional ideals in this country. And what's in that First Amendment is you may not agree with what I have to say, but I will defend to the very end your right to say it. That's America. That is what makes America great. That is what makes America itself. And so, yes, can we disagree on some questions and still have you support me as your U.S. president? Not as your pastor, but as your president. I think darn right you can. That's my answer.
This might help you. Yes or no, just to finish it up. Do you believe our rights come from God or from man?
I believe that our natural rights,
secular democracy,
our natural rights outside of a government come from God. Our natural rights. In the context of a constitutional republic, the rights that we enjoy are the ones enshrined and codified in our Constitution. And I recognize the difference between being a president and a pastor.
Thank you.
All right, guys, so we got to talk about what yet again is another amazing and very entertaining interview featuring Vivek Ramaswamy and the mainstream liberal media, okay? And I got to tell you guys, enjoy it while it lasts, okay? Because considering how Vivek is currently polling in the Republican primary, you're probably not going to see this for too much longer, okay? But one thing I can say about 2023 and some of my favorite moments of 2023 is Vivek taking a sledgehammer to the media, okay? I'm so serious about that because I don't think we're ever going to see this again. We're never going to see a Republican with the cojones to go on anybody's platform, right? Mainstream liberal media, alternative media, whoever's platform, and tell truth after truth after truth after truth after truth that you never hear, okay, in the mainstream liberal media, okay? And again, I think that this guy is a once-in-a-lifetime candidate, and I got to be honest with you guys. Conservatives, okay, we should take a long and hard look at ourselves and ask ourselves, how in the hell is Vivek Ramaswamy not polling at least 20% in the Republican primary? Okay, I'm so serious about that, right? I understand the people who are like, you know what, I'm going to vote Trump because I want him back in office. I don't want to go to jail because quite literally, if Trump doesn't win, he's probably going to jail. I know what I'm getting with Trump. I get that. I understand that, right? I don't blame anybody that says, you know what, I'm going to vote Trump. What I don't understand, right, are the people that would much rather vote for Nikki Haley, Ron DeSantis, Chris Christie, or whoever else but besides Trump over Vivek Ramaswamy. Maybe Vivek is just too close to Trump. Maybe that's what it is. I have no clue. But again, I'm going to enjoy, right, Vivek while he lasts because, again, we may never, ever, ever see anything like this guy ever again if he decides not to continue to pursue a political career after the primary is over. Okay, so with that being said, we have another classic, and I'm probably going to make a couple videos out of this interview right here because this reporter right here, this propagandist, this activist, she is literally going to lose her mind. Like, not an exaggeration, okay? She is going to visibly get upset about Vivek and his so-called conspiracy theories, aka facts, right? And why he continues to talk about his conspiracy theories, despite the fact that, according to her, the American people are not concerned about these conspiracies. So I want to react to it because, again, this is just another masterclass on how you deal with the mainstream liberal media from Vivek. Again, enjoy it while it lasts, okay? Because we might not ever see this again.
out there. You've suggested on the campaign trail that January 6th was an inside job, that the plot to kidnap Gretchen Whitmer was a job of inside entrapment, that the House Republicans, let me finish, that the House Republicans impeachment inquiry is part of a Democratic plot to sideline Biden, that there is a devious Democratic scheme to actually nominate Nikki Haley. The reality is none of these are top issues for Iowa voters. So why are you focused on these conspiracy theories?
Well, focused is a heavy-handed word, Dasha. If you take 80% of what I said, I'm talking about policy and future direction of the country, talking about how we'll increase the supply of energy to bring down the cost for everyday Americans. And so that's 80% of what I'm talking about, but I'm not going to hide from what I do believe are realities hiding in plain sight that people deserve to know about, which the last item that you described. It's not a secret that Larry Fink is going to fundraisers of Nikki Haley, propping her up. That actually one of the biggest funders of the lawsuits against Trump, including efforts to keep him off the ballot, is Reid Hoffman, the founder of LinkedIn.
Again, this is why I say that it's a joke when people say that the United States is a democracy, okay? Because what people really don't understand and realize is that the money behind these lawsuits to keep Trump off the ballot come from the wealthy, right? You literally have the wealthy powers that be. They are quite literally trying to keep Trump off the ballot, right? They're trying to overthrow our democracy, aka protect the globalist powers dictatorship in the United States of America. And this is why I say that we actually really are a plutocracy, okay? A government by and for the wealthy, okay? If you look at members of Congress, they're all rich, they're all wealthy. If you look at their donors, they're all rich, they're all wealthy. You can buy a politician, okay? You can buy a senator. It doesn't matter who you vote for because they'll just be bought and sold like prostitutes, okay? Like, you know, Joe Biden said it himself, I'm a prostitute.
I'm a 29-year-old oddball. The only reason I was able to raise the money is I was able to have a national constituency to run for office. Because I was 29, I'm like the token black or the token woman. I was the token young person. I went to the big guys for the money. I was ready to prostitute myself in the manner in which I talked about it. But what happened was they said, come back when you're 40.
Yeah, so a government by and for plutocrats who, you know, again, sell their souls, sell themselves to the highest bidder, okay, in exchange for policy and legislation, okay? That's what it is. Now, again, this is not a rant that's supposed to be against the wealthy or anything like that. This is not one of these socialist or communist-leaning rants. I'm just simply just stating facts and truth in regards to the influence of money in politics. And you cannot rid corruption out of politics. You cannot drain the swamp unless you actually get money, big money, out of politics. Okay, I have no issue with small dollar donors funding a candidate, especially in 2024 when you have, again, the internet, right? And I think that creates more of an even playing field. But I think the time of having big money donors influence our politics to such a degree needs to end if you really want to drain the swamp and rid DC of corruption. Now, here's the flip side of the coin is that while we're kind of in this phase where big money does influence politics, you kind of need a guy like a billionaire like Trump or a billionaire like a Vivek Ramaswamy who can't be bought and sold because he's already rich, right, to come in and to drain the swamp, so to speak, because, again, they can't be bought and sold. Right. So, again, it's a very, interesting situation that we're in. But the point that Vivek is making is correct. Right. If you want to know who's behind these lawsuits to get Trump off the ballot, it is the wealthy. Right. It is wealthy plutocrats who don't want to see Trump win again.
That's a $250,000 donor to super PAC supporting Nikki Haley. And so I reject this mainstream media general narrative of dismissing something as a conspiracy theory, when in fact I'm a big fan of going after facts hiding in plain sight.
But you know that when you say these things, when you bring up the Gretchen Whitmer thing, when you bring up January 6th being an inside job, yes, 80% of what you talk about might be policy, but when you hit those issues, that's going to take over the news cycle. You know how it works.
I don't think it should. I'm speaking the truth, as it does evenly across the board.
You know how it works. Are you using that to get attention as you've been slumping in the polls?
To the contrary, I'm actually speaking. You have a lot of political analysts that look at this and say exactly what you're saying. Why aren't you just saying what causes you to poll better? It's what every other political candidate's doing. They're taking what their consultants serve them up. Here's what the voters say are the top issues. Spat back to them what the voters want to hear.
So why?
I'm sharing my true convictions. And I think if we want to revive our constitutional republic, we deserve a government that tells the people the truth again. Not just when it's easy, but when it is hard. Our government has systematically lied to us on things that really matter. Of the origin of COVID-19, we were told for years that it didn't come from a lab in China, when it absolutely did. In fact, you were suppressed on social media for saying it. The eve of the last election, I think it's shameful that the Hunter Biden laptop story was systematically suppressed so voters didn't have that information.
But that's not what you're talking about. You're talking about Gretchen Whitmer being an inside job of entrapment.
I'm talking about a government that has lied to its people. The same FBI that's investigating conservatives, the same FBI and the same law enforcement apparatus, Jack Smith, that has subpoenaed millions of Americans for anybody who liked or retweeted a Donald Trump post in 2020. That's Orwellian, but that's the same federal law enforcement apparatus that put people up to an alleged kidnapping plot that they otherwise wouldn't have been put up to. Multiple defendants acquitted on grounds of entrapment. And so is this a top issue that voters bring up on the mind of voters? Absolutely it's not. But if the mainstream media is pushing, and the establishment in both parties is pushing one established narrative.
So if it's not a priority for voters, why are you so focused on it?
Well, let me answer that question. The reason why it matters is because the mainstream liberal media is putting out a narrative that does affect how people think about certain issues, right? When you have such a one-sided narrative, for example, on an event like January 6th, where Democrats keep screaming, it was an insurrection, right? And then you have this sham, fraudulent January 6th commission that was a completely 100% one-sided, didn't tell the whole story about what happened that day. Yes, it matters because the American people are going to think one thing about what happened on January 6th, but not get the whole truth or the full story about what happened that day, which is the fact that you did have these protesters who then turned into rioters because they were essentially incited by police. We have that on film. They were let into the building and given a tour by police. They were given a slap on the butt, right? Handshakes. They were pounding around. Again, getting a tour by Capitol Police, which is a completely different story and narrative than what is being told by the mainstream liberal media. And that affects how people think. But see, she knows that. And that's why she's so passionate about, why do you keep bringing this up? Why do you keep saying it? Well, because she doesn't want him to say it, right? If he says it, then they have to answer the question of, well, why didn't we cover it this way, right? You know, when he brings up Hunter Biden, the Hunter Biden laptop, and how the mainstream liberal media lied about that and said that it was Russian disinformation, even though there was no evidence that it was actually Russian disinformation and that, you know, they probably knew it was 100% real. When he brings that up, again, it shows that, well, the media is lying, right? The media is lying to you. So again, this is why she's so frustrated, because when a major party presidential candidate brings up the fact that the media lies, that you have conservatives that are being entrapped, okay? Which again goes against this narrative that, oh my God, conservatives are so dangerous. They're out here trying to kill Democrats, right? White supremacy. That makes people question the media. And the media can't be questioned, right? You can't question the media. And that's why they're so upset. That's why they don't like what he's saying. Because I can flip this question back around on her and say, okay, well, why are you guys focusing on this so much? Which is exactly what he's saying, right? You're telling me that American people don't care about January 6th. They don't care about, all these things that you're claiming is a conspiracy theory, okay? And I should focus on other things. Okay, so why are you not focused on these other things? Why have you spent so much time talking about it? Why have you spent so much time covering it? The mainstream liberal media, there's not one day that doesn't go by where MSNBC does not talk about January 6th. Not one day. Not one day. So if it's not important, why does the mainstream liberal media continue to talk about it? They want free reign to spew their narrative, right? To push their agenda, but they don't want any pushback. And if you push back against it, oh, you're a conspiracy theory. Oh, you're focusing on things that American people don't care about. While they spend a lot of time focusing on the very thing that they claim that the American people don't care about. Again, it's fascinating. It's absolutely fascinating.
Because truth is a priority for me. That's the answer. Truth is the priority for this campaign. And I don't need to be speaking to what every other professional politician is spouting off. We need to speak the hard truths that other candidates are unwilling to touch. And even though that doesn't poll necessarily on what NBC or the Des Moines Register or another media outlet is going to ask voters what are the top issues on their mind, it's important. What really is important to many voters, I believe, is a government that trusts them with the hard truth again. That hasn't happened for a very long time. And so my view is, if that's what the voters want, that's what they're going to get from me. If they want somebody who's going to incrementally reform things, change tax rates by 1% one direction or another, and call that a legislative accomplishment, go with somebody else. That's not me. But if you want a candidate who is actually going to revive the ideals of 1776, who is going to trust the people transparently with what the government knows to be true, if you want a government that actually is of and for and by the people again, I think I'm the sole candidate in this race who can deliver that. And that choice is up to the voters.
Yeah, so you seen that, you heard that. Again, another masterclass by Vivek. And this is not the only part of the interview that I'm going to react to. There's another part of the interview that I'm going to react to later. But I want to bust this one out first. Because, again, you know, the media, it's just so funny how they're so passionate, right? It's just so passionate about these conspiracies, right? Y'all already keep spouting these conspiracies, right? When, you know, again, it seems that in 2024, at least this is the way it's been, at least for the past 4 years, today's conspiracy theory is tomorrow's truth, right? And today's truth is tomorrow's conspiracy theory, okay? Because the Democrats pushed a whole lot of conspiracy theories, and the liberal media as well, too, that they haven't been held accountable for, things that they told us was true, but were actually false. And, you know, again, it's just a shame that when somebody pushes back against the narrative, they want to smear that person as the conspiracy theorist when, again, the people that are actually really pushing the conspiracies here are the mainstream liberal media. But again, the reason why they get so upset and they have the reaction that they have is because they can't have anybody question their narrative, okay? It's not about truth. It's not about facts. It's not about journalism. It's all about protecting the narrative, and this is why they get so upset about it. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.